Andrew McIrvin, excuse me, I haven't talked to anybody this morning. Sean Hogan, Fritz Mueller from Miami, Jonathan Frank, and Clayton Embley. Joe Cool, early for once. Phil Walker in Ravenna. Thanks to Ben for finishing in front of Spain. I won $20. Pedro, foiling sailors, storms, floods in Sydney overnight, and fires in Victoria. Lots more insurance claims coming. Peter Taylor in New York City. Jonathan Frank, the aforementioned, is in Galveston. Oh, Galveston. Oh, David Lloyd is watching. Oh, David Ed Worley, too. Ed Worley as well. Lots of people on here. Thank you for joining us for show number, which one is this? 594. Let's get it off the dock.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Gordon Smith in Denmark. Don Lunabos up in wine country in Sonoma. Welcome to everybody. I'm here in the studio alone today. Julia is upstairs, no doubt watching the show. We wish her well because, we'll tell you in a moment. Remember, she was a little sniffly and coffee, and not in coffee as in drinking coffee, but had a bit of a cold symptom. Well, it was worse than that. We'll tell you some more here as we get through the pre-start. This is a new slide. This is the Kohi Marama Yacht Club in Auckland, New Zealand, KYC, and I'm told it is a prestigious youth yacht club. Tamaki Drive. Kohi Marama Yacht Club is a youth yacht club dedicated to introducing young people to sailing and training them to love and excel at our beloved sport. What could be better than that? Nice to have Kohi Marama Yacht Club on as our new pre-start slide, at least for the next few weeks, probably. As I noted just a moment ago, Julia here in the show on Friday, show number 593, she looked great. She didn't sound so great. And if you look here, you may notice right down here at the bottom next to her, strategically placed, was a big Kleenex box, because she really had a bad sniffle and a bad cough, and she was pretty good with her cough switch the other day, but didn't feel well Friday night. Saturday morning, she tested positive for COVID. And at her advanced age, that's always a little frightening, but she's at least triple vaxxed. And just to be sure, we had another test later in the day, Saturday. And of course, we consulted with the usual people. And they said, well, get her some Paxlovid. So we got online, got to a virtual doctor who prescribed, she got on and the doc prescribed her Paxlovid. I ran over to the drugstore and got her some Paxlovid, her script. And she's been taking that now since Sunday, and she's feeling okay. I just talked to her 5 minutes before we went there, and she's nothing much changed, but she thanks everybody who had heard about it and is sending her their best wishes. I've been, when her ladies who help her care ladies, one of them decided not to come in, but another one has come in. Sharon's been very faithful. And so when she's not here, I need to go up, and I'm in my full PPE. Thanks to Nurse Partible, who insists that I wear gloves and an N95 mask. Andrew McIrvin said, the masks aren't really all that good, but an N95 mask on me, plus a face shield. Julia's wearing a mask when I go up there to help take care of her, and she's, she's pretty well on her own, except, we got to help her out a little bit. And so far, I've tested negative, even though she was here in the studio on Friday, and I've already had it. I just had it in October. So what's that? November, December, January. That's 12 weeks ago, 15 weeks ago. She is on Paxlovid, and it's for those of you who haven't heard, I'm sure you've all heard about it, but haven't used it. It comes in a box with 5 tins in it, and each tin there, you see the lady or the man, the gentleman, whoever's hand that is holding it, has 3 pills, 3 in the morning, 3 in the evening, 2 of one kind and a third. It's a drug cocktail. And apparently, according to Andrew McIrvin, he told me this morning that Pfizer has made 18 plus billion, all closer to $19 billion from Paxlovid. Julia's taking it. Andrew also said, our super Fozy, of course, has been on the show, and our COVID guru. He's the Secretary General of the IMA, former Admiral of the RORC, esteemed sailor, yacht racer, Mr. Dr. Andrew McIrvin. He sent me a note from The Lancet, a new article just out. He said a Lancet systematic review shows past SARS-CoV-2 infection protects against subsequent reinfection and severe disease. Its results have gone largely unnoticed, that is this review, but the bottom line provides an important message. Past infection, and this is Andrew quoting from The Lancet, past infection provides high levels of protection against reinfection with at least pre-Omicron variants. And although this protection declined over time, it remained at 79% after 40 weeks. 10 months. Protection against the Omicron BA1 variant, the more recent variant, was lower at 45%, which declined to 36% at 40 weeks. Furthermore, protection against severe disease was high for all variants, roughly 90% protection at 40 weeks. And that's a good thing, because I just also, before we went there, I heard from Commodore Steve Atkins, Madison Beach Yacht Club in Connecticut, who was our Fozy, who was the first person, as far as we are aware, who was infected with COVID. And this was, 2 years ago, and he almost died. He went into the hospital. This is before they had the vaccines and the other treatments, put him on a ventilator, and, they now realize that wasn't such a wise therapy. And he was in a hospital in New Haven, Connecticut, and survived it and is out. And now he says he's got another bout. He's just come down with it again. But he says the symptoms this time around so far, knock on wood, are much reduced. So we're wishing Steve well. We're wishing Julia well. And thanks to Andrew McIrvin for those notes from The Lancet. I should probably check the comments at this point. Morris Stevens, I hope Julia gets better soon. I hope you stay COVID-free. Well, I've had it in October, and I've had 3 vaxes, 3 jabs. So hopefully, if Andrew McIrvin and The Lancet are correct, I've got some natural immunity so far, and continuing for another few months. Fritz Mueller, sorry to hear this, wishing here the best, good for recovery. With his 99-year-old mom at home, we are still vigilant and have managed to dodge COVID so far. Yeah, as Julia said to me the other day, she said, at least I've dodged it so far, and we're late enough now in this go-around that we kind of know what's going on, and we have Paxlovid, and we have had the jab, so it minimizes or mitigates at least the severity for most people. So hopefully that will remain the case. Kentucky bourbon and honey will fix you right up, Julia Clayton, Alan Embley. Thank you, Clayton, for that. Jonathan Frank, I think some of that medicine on the back shelf might help. Yeah, that picture of me, that was in front of the bar here at the Beach Street Yacht Club. That look suits you, Tom Eamon. Well, I'm not a big hoodie and sweatpants wearer, but I am. Maria Legato, thank you. And Gordon Smith and everybody wishing Julia a speedy recovery, and thoughts are with her. And thank you, Mary Jude Szymanski, and so on and so forth. Some other sad news from Australia, a death of a yachtsman over the weekend in a race. Here's the news report.
A major South Australian yachting event's been rocked by the death of a sailor in a freak accident.
Live to Hannah Ford, and Hannah and Adelaide grandfather's been killed in the tragedy at Port Lincoln.
That's right, Will. Tonight, the Royal South Australian Yacht Squadron here at Outer Harbour is mourning a very much loved member. Andrew McLeod, a talented sailor and experienced in his 60s, was pulled from the water after he was knocked from his yacht, Summer Jewel, just after 11 o'clock this morning. Fellow crew members issued a mayday call and pulled Mr McLeod from the water as quickly as possible with the help of race officials. The grandfather was rushed back to the marina while undergoing CPR, but sadly he couldn't be be saved. The tragedy comes on day one of the Lincoln Week Regatta, which has been called off for now. Many of the crews competing in the event took part in the Adelaide to Port Lincoln yacht race that started here on Friday. Organisers have released a statement offering their condolences to Andrew McLeod's family and friends. A crisis meeting will be held tomorrow morning to decide if the event will continue.
So that's obviously sad news. And our Fozy and dear friend Alistair Murray, who's now president of Australian Sailing, issued this statement on Lincoln Week Regatta incident. This was on Monday. He yesterday issued this. On behalf of Australian Sailing, I would like to express our profound sadness at the news of the loss of life of one of our sailing community during an incident at Lincoln Week Regatta today. We would like to offer our deepest condolences to the friends and family impacted by the loss and offer our full support to Port Lincoln Yacht Club, its members, volunteers, and competitors at this time. The Lincoln Week Regatta is being run in conjunction with the Australian Yachting Championships, and we commend the club on their quick response to the incident. All those involved in rendering prompt assistance are to be commended, including fellow competitors, volunteers, coaches, and others afloat and ashore. The thoughts of the sailing community remain with all those impacted today, and we join with the club in requesting privacy for the family at this time. Signed, Alistair Murray, AM, President of Australia Sailing, and of course our Fozy, and a frequent contributor to this show. Here's Alistair in a happier time when he was getting a big award by Australian Sailing for a lifetime achievement, I think this was. And he's our super Fozy and president of Australian Sailing. And I commend him for that statement. I thought the statement was perfect. I thought he got it out right when it needed to be out and said all the right things. And by all accounts, the club handled this exceedingly well. They were prepared for, an incident like this. Sadly, the gentleman died. He was apparently a very popular sailor, according to all the news reports. And just sad news to start today's show. But we'll get on to happier things. You know what today is? If Julia were sitting here, I'd throw it to her and say, Julia, what is? Maybe she can hear me upstairs, Julia. I don't think she can. Up in the Commodore Suite. What day is it today? Well, it's Feast, then Fast. Today, of course, is Shrove Tuesday, followed tomorrow by Ash Wednesday. So I hope you're eating your pancakes, those of you who celebrate Shrove Tuesday. Why do we eat pancakes on Shrove Tuesday? Well, of course, if you're watching Sailing Illustrated, we have the answers. Why do we eat pancakes on Shrove Tuesday? This is a video from The Independent in the UK. It's time to put your batter making and pancake skills to the test. Pancake Day, Shrove Tuesday, is an annual celebration enjoyed by many across the world and lead up to the Christian festival of Easter. Ash Wednesday marks tomorrow the first day of the Christian observance of Lent, a 40-day period of abstinence that precedes Easter. As such, Ash Wednesday is the last day on which those who observe Lent can enjoy richer foods before abstaining for them should they choose to. Throughout the centuries, it's become tradition for the people to eat pancakes to mark the beginning of Lent so as to use up the ingredients that they wouldn't be allowed to eat during the 40-day period, which is how Pancake Day obtained its name, according to The Independent. The tradition of eating pancakes to see in the beginning of Lent has been observed in Britain since around the 16th century. The Encyclopedia of Traditional British Rural Sport, outlines this has occurred that they make up pancakes, namely eggs, butter, and fat, would be typically not permitted during Lent. The primary focus of many people on Pancake Day is excessive consumption. While many no longer partake in the activity, some villages, such as Atherstone and Warwickshire, continue to uphold the tradition, according to the Independent TV in the UK. Shrove Tuesday, and of course, Mardi Gras is about to be well and truly underway in New Orleans. And what does Mardi Gras stand for? Who knows what Mardi Gras stands for? We'll see, those of you. Fat Tuesday, yes, we call it Fat Tuesday. Fritz Mueller is saying, I'm going to the outer limits of gluttony. Instead, I will take the hit tomorrow. My mother, Janice Davis, question, I ran out of cough syrup. Will a shot of Irish whiskey work? Well, Mom, you better consult all the doctors on here. Gordon Smith, Shrove Tuesday is also the first of 2 days of the Shrove Tide. Yeah, I saw that. Shrove Tide football played since the Middle Ages in Ashbourne, Derbyshire in the UK. I see that used to be quite a tradition, but then, in fact, you had these big mass football games on the streets until it got closed down by the authorities. Yeah. Killjoys. Fat Tuesday, which we call Rail Ballast Day at the Marina in Houston, down at the Frank saying. Gordon Smith saying, yes, who's by all means have some Irish whiskey, Mom. Well, maybe something with some honey, maybe tea and honey, Mom, might work. But she's had a cough, apparently not COVID. So happy Fat Tuesday, happy Shrove Tuesday, the beginning of Lent and Mardi Gras, wherever in the world you are. One other thing to celebrate, Warwickshire. Thank you, Andrew McGurban. Warwickshire. Okay, I tried. Warwickshire. Is that close? Forgive me. Here's another day today we're celebrating. This is an important day for the sailing world. You recognize probably Fram 18. And do you recognize the flag with Fram 18? Famous yachtsman on the helm. Thank you, Andrew McGurban. Warwickshire. Anyone recognize it? It is his birthday today. Does that help? Luca Craig saying, look up Shrove Tide football, which is played not far from where my wife comes from in Derbyshire, Ashbourne. Yeah, Gordon Smith's got it. That's the Norwegian flag. Steve Gruber's got it. That's Norway. And that, of course, there on the left is His Majesty King Harold V, our longtime friend, President of Honor of way back to IYRU. His dad was, Olaf, was the President of Honor before Harold, and the late, great King Constantine and his queen, Queen Sonia. Yeah, I don't know if it's Raquel's birthday also today, Stingray, but it is His Majesty's birthday, King Harold V, and it is it's a holiday in Norway. King Harold is a highly accomplished and competitive sailor, as I'm sure most of you know, who competed in 3 Olympic Games in the 5.5s in 64 and 68, and the Soling in 72. He won the 1-ton cup twice, indeed once here in San Francisco, and won the Sira Cup, Andrew McGurban will know how to pronounce that, during the 8-meter Worlds in 2007. He has raced a string of custom design IOR and IMS yachts, all named Fram. And it is a special day in Norway on February 21st when Norway celebrates by raising flags and a toast to their king. Harold V, a visionary, unconventional monarch, was born on this day. To the world, he might come across as mostly reserved. He is shy. He's a shy guy and reserved as well, but just a shy gentleman, hell of a nice guy. But everyone in Norway knows him as a creator of impactful change in Norwegian society and politics. Throughout his reign, he's made the monarchy accessible and more in tune with the times. Thanks to his efforts, press access to Norway's royal family has remarkably increased. The king even gives interviews to the press, which is probably the first precedent for European royalty. He may be the symbolic head of Norway, but King Harold V doesn't shy away from expressing a political opinion when it counts. And I didn't know this, but his son, Crown Prince, is it Haakon, went to school here at Berkeley, Julia, if you're watching upstairs. Went to school here at UC Berkeley over in the East Bay. Monica Diaz saying hello from Spain. I don't know about, yeah, Andrew McGurban got it, King Harold of Norway, and various others. Just want to wrap this up by saying to His Majesty is, again, our longtime friend, and just a hell of a nice guy and great sailor, obviously, and keen sailor. Your Majesty, happy 86th birthday. Had a couple of health setbacks, but doing one here's remarkably well, and Don Lunabos confirming what a nice family indeed. Okay, that's so much for the pre-start. Let's get to the starting line. I have a new starting line photo. Anyone recognize this fleet and the event? Excuse me. I'm a little sniffly today. I hope I don't have the bloody COVID. I'm pretty sure I don't. I've tested negative. This is the 2019 Dragon Gold Cup at the Royal Hollandia Yacht Club in Netherlands up in Medemblik, and a fabulous fleet of dragons. The Vikings, Monica Diaz saying, great picture, Joe Holtzman is saying. Let's go back and look at that picture because it is a fabulous picture. You can see, remember on the IJsselmeer, that body of water that got closed off in the North Sea, the IJsselmeer is quite shallow, so a little bit of breeze and it gets pretty bumpy. I spent a lot of time, well, not so much sailing, a little bit of sailing, but a lot of judging, umpiring. We really perfected Olympic umpiring at that regatta, the Olympic classes regatta up in Medemblik, now moved over to the next town at their big yachting center. But what a fabulous spot. The Royal Hollandia Yacht Club, full of volunteers, great race managers, terrific hospitality in Medemblik. And yeah, Steve Gruber, big waves. Okay, Pindar saying we have one member of royalty, member who might have been better off not doing press interviews. And I don't think he's talking about His Majesty the King. I think Charles has become rather popular. I think he's talking about the King's brother who's being moved out of, apparently, out of the palace. Okay, that gets us through the starting line and into our opening segment. Usually, we almost always open with John's segment, Coach's Corner. John Emmett, who's on holiday now in Bangkok, in Thailand, with his lovely wife, and here's his submission.
Hi, Tom, Julia, and all the Fozy. So I'm in Bangkok now, so the chances of me getting run over, maybe by tut-tut, I think have really increased. But I'm going to try and show you a little bit of my background. Actually, the really crowded bits I probably can't actually go into because there isn't even enough room for me to stick my arm out. I said earlier I was going to start talking about the TIFF training, T-I-F-F. But a question I've had a lot recently is what sort of person do I want to coach? Because actually for me, it's about the individual rather than the result. Having said that, one thing I would say that all Olympic medalists have in common is they are highly motivated people. And that's not something that comes from the parents, that's not something that comes from the coach or anyone else, that is something that comes from deep inside the heart, and that's something which is very important right from the get-go. And I think that's probably true of people successful in almost any field, but actually that's most noticeable in sport because you have to push through the pain barriers, both physical and mental, to get that success. So what is it you want as a coach? You want somebody who you really feel you can help. And one of the analogies is you're trying to pour the water of knowledge, and if you're just pouring it on a stone and it runs off, wow, that's a waste of good water. But if you're pouring the water and it's being absorbed by a sponge, then you really feel that not a drop of your time has been wasted. And that's one of the reasons I actually really like sometimes working with young sailors, is that thirst of knowledge, which I think is a really good analogy. And it's probably more complicated than that. Very few things in life are binary. At this point I need to be careful I don't just get run over or go the wrong way. But it's what people expect from a coach. And I think very broadly you could go down three categories. You have some people who purely would want just to go racing and they just want to have fun and they don't actually have that particular desire to improve. And there's a lot of club racing which goes on, and actually people are really happy just to have a fantastic day on the water, but they don't want to be coached. In fact, I've been told coaching would ruin their holiday. So that's obviously the first step. The second step is actually just where people want positive reinforcement. They just want to be told, you know, what they did well and how good they are and well done and pat on the back. And this type of thing. And obviously that is a part of coaching. Just like the first part of coaching, there's sometimes actually the role of the coach is probably just to keep quiet and let them enjoy the race when the hard work's done. The third part, and this is where I see the majority of the top performers in any discipline, are those people who are really keen to be told what they've done wrong, because it's by looking at what you've done wrong that you can definitely make an improvement. It's very hard to improve something you're good at. It's actually very productive to try and work on things that you do find difficult. And that's how it works. And all sorts of things get in the way. Ego, you know, people don't like being told sometimes they've made mistakes. They, you know, may have this thing that they feel it's disrespectful to be told if they, you know, have the shallow ego or they're a bit proud. But actually, this idea that the more open we are, the more knowledge that we can gain, and the more we can gain from everybody, because everybody has someone to teach us. So this is a very long-winded answer to a question I've had a lot, but I think really the key thing for me, the person I coach, I want them to be really enthusiastic, you know, I want them to be keen to take the cover off every morning, and I just want to feel that I can really help them. And yeah, that's it. And we will sooner or later go on to the training tiff.
Keen to take the cover off every morning. I could not agree more. As an old hockey coach and youth hockey coach, I used to have my assistant coaches interview the kids and separately from me, and I would, and then we'd rate them. Okay, we knew the skill, we'd have tryouts on the ice and so on, but enthusiasm, willingness to be coached and play the system that you're trying to impart, and just the enthusiasm for the game. I could not agree more. And John once again makes a fabulous point. We can learn so much instilling the passion to learn. Jonathan Frank is saying, now there's a guy who is a professional learner. I mean, airline pilots have to go back and, as you all probably know, go back for refresher courses, and they have to get up, you know, they need to update on the various gear and the procedures and so on into the simulator and on and on and on. And Jonathan Frank is just, of course, upgraded here in the last year or year and a half to the 777. Thanks, John. Don Lunabos is saying good coaching. Monica Diaz, he is in Bangkok on holiday after the ILCA 6 World Masters. The ILCA 7s are going on. They've just started. John has me down to a T. Pedro Foiling Sailor is saying, I just want to have fun sailing. Thank you, Peter Stevenson, a.k.a. Pedro Foiling Sailor. Bill Wingrove said, yeah, I was having a hard time reading the signs. It is a miracle he's still alive, Steve Gruber. John, please don't do any more of these walking down the street. You know, that would be the last thing we need is to lose you, let alone have you run over while you're recording a segment for us. Gordon Smith, holy crap, I thought that white van was going to hit him. A good point by Ed Worley. Coaching style has to mesh with the personality of the mentee, the student, indeed. Okay. Yeah, Monica, I think we said he's in Bangkok, and he's always on vacation. Jonathan Frank saying, thanks again, John Emmett, for that. Emmett, get to the front of the fleet. John Emmett sailing. We appreciate his submissions, even when he's on holiday. And I think Lily is still there with him. Lily came down from China, was able to get away. Finally joined him for a bit of holiday there. If John were here online right now, he'd say, please share to your own, that is this show, to your own Facebook pages or your YouTube channel right now. It helps us, it helps him, it helps everybody. Thank you very much indeed. Julia will say the same thing at the end of the show, except she's not here to say it, sadly. We're wishing her very well. She's upstairs in the Commodore's suite watching the show and hopefully on a speedy recovery from the bloody corona, the Rona. Show number 594, we're about a half an hour in, Tuesday, the 21st of Feb, Shrove Tuesday. And it was a wild, in fact, while we were getting ready here on Friday's show, during the show Friday, those of you in Oz were saying it's going to be windy and it's going to be rough. That was there Saturday morning, racing Saturday afternoon down there. And indeed it was. And apparently they've had not only the windy and rough Saturday and then the storm that most of you no doubt have heard about, which we'll tell you more in a moment. But then they've had another. I just heard from Jeff Waller, and I've also heard from Peter Stevenson. They had another big storm go through here overnight in Sydney. So wild times down there. Saturday's racing. They did get 3 races in. It was windy, wet, and wild. And then that storm came through. And I don't want to dwell quite yet on the storm. We will in a moment. But that Saturday evening storm canceled Sunday's racing, or SailGP, I think wisely canceled. And even though not many of the boats were hurt, a lot of the facilities, the tech facility, the hospitality facility, as you'll see here in videos that we've got for you in a moment, were all pretty well taken down, the tents and so on. But on Saturday, it was the French. Vive la France. They had a dark and stormy Tom Fishbeck saying, but the French won all 3 races, had a terrific day. They've been coming on strong of late. High winds on Sydney Harbor, this is the SailGP press release, was a test of boat handling, which a lot of teams did not survive and ultimately canceled the second day of racing because of the high winds. And there was damage also during the racing on Saturday, which also led to the cancellation Sunday. But for the 3 races held on Saturday, Quentin Delapierre's France team put on a masterclass to win them all, with winds gusting near 30 knots. Thank you, knots. Thank you very much, SailGP. The 9 teams strapped on their small rigs to survive the gusty conditions, while the French often were in front early. The USA team with Jimmy Spidhill, he loves the breeze, especially on Sydney Harbor. He finished the day in second overall after weaving through the bedlam for a 2-2-5. These guys, Tommy Slingsby's team, the Australian team, had a hell of a day as well. They had damage early on in fact, before the first race, managed to sort of get it fixed, managed to keep going, and even had a third in the first race. But bravo Zulu to them, and Kinley Fowler, who apparently fixed it on board the boat. The dramatic first day was plagued by technical issues, near capsizes, messy maneuvers, and even an Emirates Great Britain SailGP team crew member falling overboard. He didn't exactly fall overboard during that first fleet race. He went through the trampoline. We'll show you that video in a moment as well. Emirates GBR, as they're now called, grinder Matt Gottrell fell through the fairing of the foiling F50 as the team approached the finish line while traveling at speeds of 27 knots. He was banged and bruised, but not seriously injured, went to the hospital for a check. We'll tell you all that, more about that in a moment. But I now have the 5-minute recap video, courtesy of SailGP, from day 1 in those 3 races. Have a look.
Great move by New Zealand. He now has control, but he's a little early. It's Emirates GBR and Australia well positioned. Spithill can't find a gap. All about the timing. Watch for the line to turn white.
Oh! Kinds of penalties.
Over the line early, New Zealand.
OCS penalty, New Zealand. Over the line early.
Look at the Swiss. They've tried to manoeuvre so late. They put the bow in the water. Wow, close moment. The Canada must keep clear. Drama at the bottom gate there. Emirates GBR slides through. They all avoid each other just, but Switzerland, wow, so close to a capsize. Diego Botín, the Spanish new driver, he's not scared of getting in on the action. Dives through, 4th at gate 2, and New Zealand, they're back in the pack. Wow, drama there. As we see a tight cross, Emirates GBR has the right of way. Wow, last minute dive. It's very messy out there on board these boats. The French, look at that, they're flying high, they're heeling over.
Hey, tech team, we're retiring here. We can't get our starboard board up, so just could everyone keep an eye on us and someone start working on it.
Someone's overboard, Todd, someone's overboard. Oh my word, that looks like the fairing's broken. Yep. They're trying to reach through and he's just clearly, whoa, disaster for Emirates Great Britain. What a moment there. See there, the turning, the G-forces in the turn, and that's just super lightweight plastic film there. It's just a fairing, it's just for boat speed, but of course he fell on it. There's no structural support there. He's straight through it, Todd, and yes, such a scary moment. Oh my word, they're having to think on their feet now, Todd. Oh my lord, the boat jumps out of the water.
And
Big
look at the
moment.
Americans on the inside.
Oh, it's a sprint now, but Australia, they're sailing with an arm tied behind their back at the moment, Todd. Unbelievable that they're managing to hang on here as France drive to the finish. Spithill drives to the finish. Who's going to get there first?
Neck and neck as they come to the finish line here in race number 1 in Sydney. And the win will go the way of the French. Quentin Delapierre pulls a rabbit out of his hat.
French and USA looking to snipe here. Can they find a gap through the fleet as Tom Slingsby winds it up at the top of the line? I think he's early. We're watching for the line to turn white. How's your timing, Tom Slingsby? He's coming in hot here.
Dead on.
Oh! Think he was early, Todd.
This is the umpire's OCS penalty, Australia.
Oh, we're going to want to see that back. That must be microsecond. I like that right turn at the top from Jimmy. He's been able to do a lot less now. Jimmy must keep clear here on board the USA. Has to keep clear. Expect a protest from Delapierre. Jimmy matching his manoeuvre. Paul Campbell-James telling him when the board went down. USA react immediately. There's the yellow ley line. That should mean the French are well set for the next gate. Quentin aggressive there, sailing Jimmy off the course.
It is all about speed. Look at this. France absolutely flying through the course, and they are going to take it to the finish, make it 2 for 2 for Quentin Delapierre and France. Jimmy Spithill tucks him behind. He'll grab a second. So the same results in race 2 that we saw in race number 1, and the French and the Americans are loving life in Sydney.
10 seconds to go. A lot of the boats out the back. France, Canada and Australia, well, they're foiling and they're going to be in good shape. Just in time for Emirates GB. But how's your timing, Phil Robertson? 3 seconds to go. Perfect from Phil Robertson. A big change in the wind there, Todd. No one reacted quick enough other than the Canadians. But Delapierre, he's right in the mix again. And it's going to be more of a boat speed race.
And here we go into gate number 2.
And look, the Canadians, they've got that boundary penalty. They sailed too much distance, opened the door for Delapierre, and on the form he's on today, he's going to take it. The French are a little loose around there, but they're still out in front. Canadians stop in front of the Australians. Hard manoeuvre, the Aussies trying to get it back under control. Whoa, big water over the deck. That was the Canadians so slow in front of them, and that opens an opportunity for Emirates GBR, as we can see everyone getting really loose around gate 2. Britain have the right of way here, Todd. France have got to judge this. It's so tight across. I think he's clear ahead. Wow, both boats scrape across in front of Great Britain. That was so tight. There's going to be a protest. Could be 3 from 3 here, Todd.
Quentin Delapierre makes the turn around gate number 5 on this 3rd and final race. The winners of the first 2. And the win will indeed go to the French as they make it 3 for 3 in Sydney.
What a day for the French. That's got to be their best ever day.
Second place, Emirates, Great Britain. They'll grab that, and they need those points after disappointing first race where they finished at 6th and a 6th in second race as well.
Some redemption here for the Danish team, taking a 3rd as well.
Okay, well, it was an exciting, as Stingray said and others, it was an exciting day of racing. By the way, the Sydney Harbour 18s, the Ideens were out. They didn't have any problem with all of this breeze. And a couple of you said it wasn't anywhere near 30 knots. It was plus 20, but okay, it was, it was plus 20. And they had the small rigs on, the small wings, as you heard them. They're modular. So you wondered, well, what was the big problem Saturday night? Well, we're going to talk about that, but let's first show you the video again of the car on board the Brits. This was scary.
The board on the left-hand side of our screen down in the last 2 manoeuvres. That was the board that had a problem in the last race.
And look how close it is now as you talk about it on course. Emirates GBR, and they are now stuck in the water.
They're off the foot. Someone's overboard, Todd. Someone's overboard. Oh my word, that looks like the fairing's broken. They're trying to reach through, and he's just clearly, whoa, disaster for Emirates Great Britain. What a moment there. Open.
Yeah, I may play that again for you. Those of you, probably some of you have seen it, but I'm going to back it up and I'll play it again because a couple of points. Watch the commentator and listen. The commentators don't even realize anybody's overboard for about, I don't know, 10, 12 seconds. And he, as Ed Worley said, he wasn't overboard, he was underboard. And then there's the discussion about whether having a tether or not was wise. Would have been better if he, well, now they've learned after that scary incident in Bermuda during the Cup, was it a SailGP or was it an America's Cup? 2017. But, you go under the boat and those T-foils on the bottom of the rudder are sharp and dangerous. So the tether, I think, is a really good idea. Yeah, and this guy it's scary watching him get bounced around. And we'll have a video from him telling about how it felt. But have a look again at what goes on underneath this boat.
They're struggling to get the board on the left-hand side of our screen down in the last two maneuvers. That was the board that had a problem in the last race.
And look how close it is now as you talk about it on course. Emirates GBR, and they are now stuck in the water.
They're off the foot. Someone's overboard, Todd. Someone's overboard. Oh my word, that looks like the fairing's broken. Yep. They're trying to reach through and he's just clearly, disaster for Emirates Great Britain. What a moment there. Open.
So here's the problem. The announcers are in London, okay? And they're watching the big screen, and on the big screen, they're watching the boats crossing and going up the track. The director apparently did not have the close-up on the bow cam, at least, from that boat was not on. So they didn't know somebody was underneath until somebody finally saw it in what the Brits call the gallery, we would call the control room, and cut to it. Now the announcers are seeing that shot, and oh my God, somebody's there. And that's why the Brits had slowed to a stop wisely, correctly, properly. Sir Ben stopped the boat. So, had to get the guy up and not be hurt. So it was scary, eh? It was scary. So a little bit of discussion about whether the French can win the Cup. Monica and whoever else is talking about, there is not a snowball's chance. More likely I'll be the next Queen of England that the French will win the America's Cup. And it's not because their sailors aren't great. They're arguably the best sailing country in the world, sailors and especially foiling sailors and yada, yada. But they're a day late and many euros short to get into this game at this point and compete against ETNZ and American Magic and the others. So that's my humble opinion. Now, Jonathan Frank, I think, again, having that tether on was really important. He was underboard, not overboard. An amazing Stingray, I agree, that Stingray can't recall, nor can I, any team winning all three races on any given day in the 3-season history of SailGP. Steve Groover pointing out, the tether has to be short enough to avoid potentially deadly contact. Certainly could maim somebody pretty badly if he hit the rudder. Man overboard was a miracle. Could be a terrible situation if he went over the foils. Indeed, Monica Diaz. To a more accurate replay, the volume should be 5 times higher. The commentators, I wish they'd stop saying, wow! I wish they'd stop saying drama! And I wish they'd stop both, oh, when something happens. Come on, it's so unprofessional. Where's Jody Shields? Let's get Jody back on the commentary. Alistair was there. We're going to show you a video from Alistair in a moment. I was in Sydney on Sunday walking through Milson's Point when an elite athlete shot past at a high speed on a bike, magnificently kitted out in Yachty's Lycra. Yachties are hotties, and it just happened to be Peter Stevenson. Well, the Yanks have definitely improved. Well, they did, at least in the breeze, Jonathan Frank. Jimmy, he likes the breeze. Looking forward to San Francisco, aren't we all? I hope they get the boats back together so that Christchurch next month and then San Francisco in May are all in good shape. Yeah, he lost his helmet. His helmet came off, and apparently some of his other equipment was ripped off by the water. Yep, Gareth Evans and Peter Taylor and Stingray. Tethered at, I'm not quite sure, Fritz, how they're tethered. Somebody know how they're tethered? Yes, Steve Gruber is saying. Ask Frank Camas about his fingers and all the other foil butchery. Ooh, that's awful. Or our American sailing star, Bora Galari. Ainsley got the boat speed down to almost nothing, stopped within 8 seconds. Great move. Couldn't agree more, Stingray. 100 messages already. Frank Camas had a severe injury, and others have as well in the tornado class in the what's the Olympic catamaran? I'm having a brain fade here. That's why I need Julia to tell me what the NACRA 18 is what she would say if we're here. Okay, let's go back and revisit this now with some of the info that came out subsequent to the incident. This from Emirates Great Britain, the SailGP team, newly branded Emirates GBR. The driver of Emirates GBR, as you all know, is Ben Ainsley. He said he was relieved at the moment. He has relived the moment grinder Matt Gottrell fell through the fairing of the British F50 on the first day of racing in Sydney. The headline, of course, it was a pretty insane situation. The team was on the final stretch to the finish line of the first fleet race and traveling close to 50, is that miles per hour? Kilometers per hour. Knots? I don't know. What, miles per hour? Now we're going to miles per hour. That's from the Brits. This is their press release. When Gottrell fell through the fairing during a jibe. While in the water, Gottrell remained attached to the F50 via his safety line. Fortunately, the Emirates GBR crew promptly stopped the boat and was able to pull Gottrell back on board. The team was even able to finish the race in 6th place. That was pretty remarkable. Following the race, Gottrell was taken to hospital for a checkup. He sustained muscular strain to his right hip and legs and some bruising from the impact, but was promptly discharged. Speaking after the racing, Ainsley described the incident as, quote, a pretty insane situation. Indeed. Unquote, adding that the first thoughts that went through his head were, oh my God, how are we going to resolve this one? I bet you that's not the only thing that went through his head. And I'll bet you Mr. Gottrell probably had to have a change of underwear when he got to the hospital. But here he is reliving, this is Matt Gottrell reliving the situation.
A little bit battered and bruised, but yeah, thankfully came out of it a lot better than it probably looked on camera. So yeah, no, just glad to be there. A bit frustrated, obviously. Falling through the front beam and stopping the race first like that was a bit frustrating for me. So beating myself up more about that than the actual physical injuries.
Yeah, the loyal crew and that he is, but thank God he wasn't hurt or not hurt badly. And in this whole storm that came through Saturday night, thank goodness nobody was seriously injured either. There were some injuries apparently, but nothing life-threatening or nothing near even life-threatening. But let's, James Frederick Bland is saying, FARC, FARC, FARC is what I heard. Yeah. Monica Diaz. Yeah, I was still thinking about the terrible tragedy here in San Francisco when Bart Simpson was killed. Shows how good and strong the harness, tether, and deck lines are. Gareth Evans saying there have been many cases of offshore, good point, offshore sailors breaking tethers. Safety coach is very important. And our Fozy John Schaefer said he's talked to some of the safety swimmers on some of those teams because some of them now have safety swimmers that are going through this training that the Ministry of Sailing, our Fozy John Schaefer from Annapolis, is putting them on. So thank goodness that Mr. Gottrell is okay. And now let's talk about what happened in the storm Saturday night. Canadian boat being taken out, the wing being taken out of the boat. When this squall came through, watch the people on the ground. They don't know whether to run or to help rescue the wing. Didn't matter. I'll back that up just to make one note. Notice on the bottom of the wing, when it comes off the boat, there's a box. That box is a heavily weighted box. And that's something we developed here for the wing sail, in fact, in 2010, to get the wing sail, help keep it balanced when it's being lifted out of the boat. so it doesn't fly around. You see, that's a big heavy box of cement or of iron or something hanging off the bottom of that wing. So it's weighted to help control it. And of course, there's really a lot of wind here in this, I don't know, 50, 60 knots. Bang. And you can see the electrical. One of those is the tech tent, which has computers in it, which all got soaked. But lucky nobody got seriously hurt in all of this. And the crane operator was actually pretty good getting the wing safely, reasonably safely to the ground. I admire him or her for getting that thing down on the ground. And that was taken from the, I guess, the hotel next door. I think it's the Crown Casino or Crown Plaza. I don't know what that hotel was. But there were any number of videos. That was arguably the best. And you heard somebody say in the background of whoever was shooting that video, Canada is not racing tomorrow. Well, of course, as you all know, they canceled racing, and nor did anyone else race the next day because there was, it was a fustercluck. There was a lot of damage. There were damage to the boats during the racing on Saturday. There was damage there, plus that tech tent when the wing was flying around, it damaged that tent, and then the rain came through and it wrecked a bunch of the computers that are necessary to run the racing. Wind shear, Sea Aviation, and it was a really messy situation. I had an hour-long talk Sunday with a Fozy who was there, and I won't say who. It could have been any number of, a dozen of you who were there. And I gleaned a lot of information. And one of the questions you will all ask is, why were they taking the boats, knowing that this storm was coming through, why were they taking the boats out? Because the boats that were in the water on their moorings and wind vaned through this storm were, unscathed or nearly so. And it was only this wing and then the other boats that had already been taken out that suffered some kind of collateral damage. Why were they taking the boats out? Well, they had to take all the boats out because the decision had been made, one hears, to go to the larger wings for the next day because it was forecast to be much lighter on Sunday. They had to haul all the boats out, change all, and put the modular section. These wings are modular. Add the additional area into the wings, put them back in the boat, put the boats back in the water. It's an overnight operation. And apparently, for whatever reason, whether it's fiscal or otherwise, they're a bit short-staffed, or so again one hears. And they were on a schedule to get all these boats out, even though they knew this storm was coming and they were going to try to dodge the storm, as the boats in the water did. But sadly, this wing was just coming off the Canadian boat as it happened. And here is the report from Phil Robertson of the Canadian team post, I guess maybe Sunday morning, but here what Phil said.
Last night while we're craning the boat out of the water, a major storm cell rolled through, and thankfully no one was seriously injured in the whole process of trying to get the wing down. And the unfortunate side of it is there is quite a bit of damage to our wing, and we're still assessing the rest of the damage to the platform and also the rest of the league. So it's quite an unfortunate situation to be in, but look, we have a really strong team, and a team that has always been a team that's willing to fight. I think we'll be able to overcome with all the support that you guys are continually giving us. So yeah, thank you for all the kind messages. It's obviously a pretty tough day yesterday, but look, we're a team that's really well knitted together, and we're sticking close by each other in this situation. And I know we'll come out bigger and better and a little bit stronger for it. So thanks, guys, and we'll keep you updated as we get more intel.
So, excuse me, Phil Robertson, who, the driver, what did they call him, the skipper or the helmsman or whatever? But, Kiwi, who's a great sailor and has been a journeyman for various teams, and that's Canada's brand new boat. They just got that boat prior to this regatta. And again, people say, well, why didn't they just race with 4 or 5 boats on Sunday? Well, the problem was, again, the tech tent with all the computers and everything to run SailGP got wrecked and then rained on, or so one hears. And then they couldn't get the wings, the big wings, onto all the boats, even the remaining boats, because of the carnage from the Canadian wing flying around. And I agree. Somebody just said that I think I said it a minute ago, but somebody said that a crane operator did a pretty darn good job. That counterweight is concrete from that picture. Yeah, I think it is, James Bland. And Steve Gruber, the crane operator, must have had every alarm going off and wisely released the brake. Well, I don't know what he did, but he somehow managed to get the thing down in open space and not land on anybody or land on another tent. I don't know if it's it might even be water. I think that counterweight might be water, a big bucket that they fill with water from memory. Maybe they've changed too. I don't really know. So yeah, sad situation. David James saying these are just so practical. Yeah, David. Yeah, it's all about making good decisions. I think it was a good decision to call it off on Sunday. I don't think they could have raced fairly or safely. And if, as Peter Stevenson, Pedro Foiling Sailor, saying, if safety is the most important issue and all the boats are the same, why don't they just use a soft sail option that would be safer? Well, because they wouldn't foil in the light air with a smaller wing. So as you know, I think David James has hit the nail on the head. These boats, in his, I think he was being a bit sarcastic, are not very practicable. What else? Water makes more. Yeah, I think Steve Gruber, water makes more sense instead of carting concrete all over the planet. I do. That's what we used to use. I know they filled up a big water jug, and they just canceled the Islands race. Chris Watts is saying. Okay, that's interesting. Okay, well, thanks Phil Robertson for that class act that he is, the Canadian team. But now here's a video from Alistair Murray, who was there all weekend, and Alistair was in the Adrenaline Lounge, the VIP lounge. This is a video you haven't seen, thanks to Alistair.
Enjoying the big storms come through the end. The Canadian rig, which has been lowered, has been blown away. The marquee that I was just in has been blown down. The big storm has come through, and there's people rushing everywhere and all sorts of chaos. So, wow, you just missed a big clap of thunder. Seriously, the marquee we were just in, we just left 2 minutes ago, just blew down, which is the Adrenaline Lounge there you see. Look at the dust storm in the background. This is really quite dramatic. Whoa, jeez.
So, I don't know if you can hear Alistair's voice through all that chaos, but the Adrenaline Lounge also apparently had its rooftop torn off. And that's something like 1,300 VIP guests, one hears. And that's an astonishing, it's a terrific number, great turnout. And then for all this to happen. If you look over there on the left, and just in that shot, you could see a couple of the boats that were the French boat, and I don't know who the other red boat was, the Danes or the Spaniards or whomever, were in the water still, maybe the Brits. And those boats weather vaned through all of this, apparently with little or no problem. But as you know, Tom Slingsby's boat was also damaged and so on. But thanks, Alistair Murray, for sending along that video. But imagine now you've got all these guests, and they now want to host them again on Sunday. So even if there was racing, there was no place. The Adrenaline Lounge was wrecked, apparently, or damaged severely. So how are they going to handle all those guests? So for all those reasons, and I'm sure more, Russell, and I think, made the right decision to call it off. The Sprinters Lounge, was that right there too? I don't know what the Sprinters Lounge is. What's a Sprinters Lounge? Yeah, all that materiel flying around, Gordon Smith saying, a good point. Geez. So it was a scary situation. This was the aftermath, the tech team, as they call them, I think this photo is from Sunday morning, in the official statement from, I guess, Saturday night. After racing today at the KPMG Australia Sail Grand Prix in Sydney, a major weather event occurred that has resulted in significant damage to the wing sails and at least one boat at the SailGP technical site. As far as we know, no one was seriously, they keep using seriously injured. during the incident. As a result of the damage, SailGP has had to cancel racing for the second day of the Sydney event. Full assessment of the damage is underway, but it is likely some of the future SailGP events may also need to be delayed. I hear it takes 17 weeks to build a wing. So, or rebuild even a wing. So I don't know if that's entirely true, but you know, they got their work cut out for them, Mark Turner and the rest of the gang in Warkworth, where they build and repair these boats. Luckily, the next event is in Christchurch. It's there in New Zealand. So if they get shipped from Australia over to Warkworth, up on the North Island, up north of the North Shore, north of Auckland, and then get down to Christchurch, they might be able to make it or at all, let alone delayed or not. So we'll see. Hopefully they're back intact and ready for the grand finale here, the finale here in San Francisco in May. But just back to focus on the positive, because they did sail beautifully. It was a terrific event on Saturday. Vive la France. I don't know what else to say, but to Quentin Delapierre and his team to win all three races was just, I think, an astonishing achievement. Bravo Zulu to them. They put this video out after their success over the weekend. Have a quick look and listen.
Here comes the hot step, here comes the hot step, here comes the hot step, word up. 369 girls wanna drink wine. Tell the man not to waste your time. If the man broke, the man he a joke, so you gotta get loose with the Henny and the Coke.
And the win will go the way of the French. Content Delapierre.
Move on, get the man gone. Now can I get a Coke on my rum? 369 girls wanna drink wine. Tell the man not to waste your time. If the man
And they are going to take it to the finish, make it 2 for 2 for Content Delapierre and France.
If the man don't dance, he's done. Tell him move
France,
on,
though,
get the man
look at that, opening the gap, nearly 200 meters ahead.
And the win will indeed go to the French as they make it 3 for 3 in Sydney.
So, fantastique. I mean, marvelous job by the French. Bravo Zulu to them. Bravo Zulu to SailGP for making Saturday happen, notwithstanding all the problems. And to his team, to Quentin Delapierre's team, terrific showing. In winning, I think this is their first win too, isn't it? Somebody will know. Alistair Murray, just a quick note saying there were approximately 200 of us in the Adrenaline Lounge, not 1,300. Yeah, I think, did I say 1,300 in the lounge? Or 1,300 on Shark Island, and I think Jody and a couple others were there doing commentary from memory. And not anywhere near 100 kilometers per hour, James Frederick Bland is saying, in terms of the wind. Well, we don't know. Very impressive for France, agreed. Is that French rap music? Edwardly's asking. I don't know. Okay, great job, Quentin. And this is the standings now. Tommy Slingsby still on top. Pete Burling and co. from New Zealand, this Kiwi team in second. Right behind them, only 1 point back, are the French. And Sir Ben only 2 points behind them. So at least for second place, it looks like there's going to be a real contest. And then, of course, it's the final three at the end of the San Francisco Regatta here, the final. All those three teams, the final three teams in the season standings, go into the one winner-take-all $1 million final race that we saw here last year. Now, one other thing to note on the leaderboard, and I've asked several of you if you know why, and if anybody has the answer, but notice they're all named by their country except Sir Ben's team, which has his sponsor name in it, Emirates GBR. Now, is that because none of the other teams have a title sponsor? I thought the Danes had a title sponsor. And I don't know if any of the others have a title sponsor. Maybe not. And maybe even the Danish team sponsor is not the so-called title sponsor. Maybe it's a presenting sponsor. Hi, Greg Renton. He has joined us. They won in Cadiz. Monica Diaz is saying the French did win once before, so good for them. And again, I don't know the answer, but you got Emirates GBR, and again, everybody's celebrating that tremendous that sponsorship, title sponsorship that Sir Ben has struck with Emirates Airline, We talked about that in the last couple of shows in Bravo Zulu to all of them. I mean, what is it? What's the name of the Danish company that's something Rothwool? What's the name of that company? That somebody will know in the comments. That's sponsoring the Danish team. I thought that was their title sponsor. Is it because video programs are done in London? Ed Worley asking. Rockwool. Thank you, Steve Gruber. I don't know why. I'm surprised that it's not Rockwool DEN. If that is in fact their title partner, but maybe it's not. Hello, John Lamberts von Buren. He signed on. He sang Rockwool. Yep, indeed. And Gordon Smith chiming in as well. So some pictures, dark and gloomy, threatening conditions there during the racing Saturday. And they tweeted, SailGP did, they tweeted after the racing, a tough weekend on Sydney Harbor, but we'll be back. Thank you to all of our staff, first responders, and fans for getting everybody reasonably safely through it. And of course, the next event is scheduled for less than a month's time, 17 and 18 March, in Christchurch, the ITM New Zealand Sail Grand Prix. And then Season 3 Grand Finale, the finale event 11 is here in San Francisco, 6-7 May. So they ought to be able to make that, I would hope, I should think, and hopefully even Christchurch will come off. We shall soon know more, I'm sure. If you're just joining us for an hour and 6 minutes in, we're here at the Beach Street Yacht Club. That's, as some of you have asked, that's over here in the studio above where Julia sits. And that is it's the St. Francis Burgee with a guitar and a red wine glass. That designed by my daughter, Meg, who's, I can tell you, is getting married this summer. She's announced, so we're delighted to hear that. Sorry that Julia's not with us. She would normally be here, of course, but has come down with the bloody Rona, doing okay. She's upstairs in the Commodore's suite watching the show, and I know all of you wish her a speedy recovery. And she seems to be doing okay. She's all stuffed up in the head. She's got a cough. She's got a headache. She says she's a little dizzy, but doesn't seem to have any severe symptoms. And also, Steve Atkins, if you're watching, we said at the top of the show that he's also having another bout. And in fact, I heard from Andrew McIrvin. He said he's got a friend who's triple or quadruple jab vaxxed and has had it now. This is a friend who's had it. This is his or her third time. So we all got to be careful. You don't want to get it at all. I didn't have a very bad case back in October, but I still had a case. I was tired and fatigued and so on. Okay, enough of all this. Any other comments? Unless... Who owns the SailGP boats and wings? Well, the league does. The league owns the equipment. I'm pretty darn sure that they own all of the equipment and supply it. In effect, the teams lease it from them. Unless they have a stack of spare wings somewhere, I don't believe they do. Schnit will happen. Yep. Start tripling up on vitamin D and C. James Frederick Landis. I don't know about vitamin C. Does that help? But I do. I still have it here thanks to Andrew McIrvin and Dr. John Campbell and other. And that reminds me to take the vitamin D every day because I don't get that much sun here. And if you don't get a lot of sun, they say vitamin. In fact, even if you do, maybe a little vitamin D is not bad. Other than behaving appropriately, sponsor fulfillment is rule number 2. Totally agree. You don't want to get long COVID, Gareth Evans saying, I haven't been able to work a full day since last March. Wow, Gareth, I'm sorry to hear that. I know Steve Atkins has had some trouble with long COVID. Ed Worley saying zinc also. Yeah, I do take occasional zinc. Apparently that helps. I'm looking kind of pasty. Am I? That's just the lighting on the camera. Maybe we didn't have it perfectly adjusted. Do you like Vegemite? Well, doesn't everybody like Vegemite? I don't like Vegemite, to be honest. I like peanut butter, though, and most of you Antipodeans don't like peanut butter, but like Vegemite or one of the other mites. But that was these are all gifts from the Fosey, remember? That's a gift. Oh, these are all gifts from the Fosey. In fact, this is marmalade from the Royal Yacht Squadron. Thank you to Andrew McIrvin, I think, gave us that, and the various others. Okay, enough of all that. It's starting to get my taste and smell. Oh, I'm starting. Ken Saban, who's had COVID, I'm starting to get my taste and smell back from his COVID experience. Does Paxlovid help at all with the husky bi-eyed thing? What does that mean? What does that mean? Ted Ryman saying, Vegemite is disgusting. Marmite is the one that... Somebody send me some Marmite, and we'll do a taste test here on the show between peanut butter, Vegemite, and Marmite. And maybe several of us could do that at the same time. Okay, carrying on, moving ahead here. We've been talking about the RORC's Caribbean 600, the 2023 that started on Monday, yesterday. And astonishingly, at least the multis and a couple of the monohulls are nearly completed the race. It's unbelievable how well they're going. And we keep telling you about the racetrack, 600-mile race. And starting here in Antigua and going up and around and Nevis and St. Kitts and up to St. Bart's and around Saint Martin and Tinta Mare and back all the way down. And there was a southerly. They were doing some beating down here after they got past Montserrat and Guadalupe and around, and then back up for another loop. And last I checked, the leaders were crossing this path of the monohulls that were coming down, and the tries were almost to the finish line. So they've really had a fast race. Here's the start yesterday, and then I'm going to show you where they are on the racetrack. What fabulous footage for the start yesterday, Monday, the 20th of that ROC's Caribbean 600. And by the way, Julie, if you saw that, if you're upstairs watching, you see the race committee member who had the shotgun, bang, you heard the bang. Sorry, Royal New Zealand Yacht Squadron, I've been using your opening day cannon shot as the countdown to the start of this show for I don't know how long, a year and a half. But when we get to show 600, if not before, I'm going to go to that shotgun shot from this fabulous video. Now, as you saw, Maserati is doing pretty well. The day two, that is this morning, the report from this morning via the RORC's Carib 600 website at the break of dawn today of the RORC Caribbean 600, Giovanni Saldini's Maserati Multi 70 was in pole position an hour. But he's not in pole position. Come on, Formula One fans will tell you pole position is where you start. It's not where you are in the race. It's the starting position. So this is not, they're leading an hour inside race record pace, which is cool for the 600-mile race. Video footage from onboard Maserati reveals hellish conditions on deck at over 30 knots of boat speed. Indeed, it does. Have a look at this. Okay, well, you know what those boats are like, in a lot of wind and proceeding apace. Now we have word that Pyewacket, last I looked, was leading. And this is our longtime friend Ben Mitchell from down in San Diego, skippering Pyewacket. He's leading the charge south, hitting over 20 knots of boat speed. The American Volvo 70 was about halfway in the race, 100 miles from Guadalupe. That was earlier this morning. The Volvo 70, I Love Poland, skippered by Greg Baranowski, was 15 miles astern of Pyewacket, but after IRC time correction, leads the class by just over 1 hour. The leading VO65 in the race was Wind Whisper, the Polish boat, skippered by Joka Signorini, 16 miles behind I Love Poland. New sentence, 16 miles behind I Love Poland. Wind Whisper was third under IRC. Now, this is from about an hour and a half ago. I took this is the racetrack, a really good race tracker, by the way, and I ran it and took a screen video of it so you can see this, how quickly they've gone around this track. There's the leaders coming downhill and then going around. This all in the last, 24, 30 hours. And this is where they were. The leaders were just crossing the track of those of the monohulls coming still. I mean, it's downhill. I think they're actually going upwind. But terrific, quick race. Here's Pyewacket. And again, this is an hour and a half ago, so I haven't gone back and looked at the track again. But here are the leaders, Maserati and the other just about to turn the corner and go across to the finish back in the harbor in Antigua. So what a quick race. What an amazing job they've done. Let's go to the comments. Great illustration there. Yeah, Stingray, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how to run that. I'd run it live right off but I don't know how to run the thing. You have to kind of push there's some button to push that'll make that thing go. Otherwise, I had to push the button myself and to record the screen. Maybe there's RORC, a real race, Fritz Mueller saying. Could be a nice Balearics regatta. Great illustration. Thank you, Stingray. I don't know if there's a way. I wish there was. You should be able to push a button and have that Pilgrim's Progress happen. And you can see, I could show it live here right now. Tom, another great show, captivating all of us. Sorry, Julia, not there, but okay, understandable. Carry on. Thanks, Fritz Mueller. Pyewacket 70 has 100. Clark's checked the chart. The tracker, and Pyewacket has another 177 nautical miles to finish, 24 nautical miles ahead of I Love Poland. The squeal sounds like a race car just before it hits the wall of Bill Wingrove. No sleep on that rig. That's a point. Gareth Evans, they're back and forth about a shotgun wedding, a shotgun finish, shotgun wedding. Maserati has only 2.2 nautical miles to finish, but is moving about 7.9 knots. So nautical miles per hour. So they are going to have been finished, or if not already, imminently. I reckon the pirate Giovanni will make it, Andrew McGurban saying. Yep. Andrew's not there. He's not going down for this one, but maybe we'll get Andrew back on and do a COVID up, since I didn't realize so many of you had COVID more than once, in fact. I go back up here. Somebody said back and forth about Marmite, and Gordon Smith saying Marmite is a byproduct of the brewing industry, which would seem to be appropriate for all of us. Back and forth. Fritz Mueller's comparing the two. Thanks, Anna. Here's Anna Bergqvist's comment from Anna. Are you from Sweden, Anna? All the best for Julia's recovery. I had it about 5 times. I was also prevented from working for a long time due to this virus, but fingers crossed I have started to train again and feel great now. She's the great match racer, I think, Anna is. I've met her in person a couple of 3. I think we had dinner across over in the North Bay, in fact, here with her team when she was here sailing in San Francisco, if I'm right, Anna. What else? Okay, I'm going to carry on here. Let's go now to the ocean race. They are, as you all know, in Cape Town, and I've got a kind of a cool video. They're filling the time. They start again on the 26th. There's an import race, Saturday, and then, or is it Friday? And then they start on the 26th, which is Wednesday, 22nd, 23rd, 24th, yeah, on Sunday, the 26th, for that long leg across to Itajaí. But in the meantime, they're flicking out a few videos, and this one from Wholesome PRB explaining the role of the navigator. I like this video. Have a look.
So the navigator, I mean, his primary role is safety, to make sure we
Sam
don't
Goodchild.
end up, on rocks and running into things we shouldn't do. The other one is looking at the weather and making sure we're going to the right place at the right time. Also communicating with the helmsman as to what he needs to do. Is the priority to go straight to the mark? Is it to go look for some wind? And likewise, it's a communication between the skipper and the helmsman and the navigator as to where we go with the boat and why, whether it's for a safety reason or a performance reason. Our navigator, Tom, he's got the computer downstairs. On the computer, he's obviously got the position of the boat and all the data of the boat, so the wind, the speed, and all the other captures on the boat. There's probably about 40 or 50 different sensors around. And then he's obviously got all that relayed onto a chart, so he can see where we are in the world, where we are in the water, where the depth and shallow parts are. On that, he can download weather files, so you can look at all the weather, whether that's wind or currents or whatever they are. And there's different models of those, so you can compare them. And if they're all agreeing, it's fairly easy. And quite regularly, they never agree. So there's very different choices, and he has to decide which one he has more confidence in, and then which is the option the least risky, which leaves the most options open. So he's got all of that kind of at his disposal, and he has to choose at which time what is the priority.
I thought that was a terrific description and a nice video, and I look forward to more. They ran another one that was not so interesting, and we'll keep, we'll go with the interesting ones on Friday's show at least, and maybe beyond that. But in the meantime, I have a Fozzie Focus from Cape Town, because we have some cool people there, regulars here for this show. And I ask you, if Julia were sitting here, and of course she is not, sadly, because she's taking the day off. Not happy about that either, but she's taking the day off. But do you know who this is? One of our Fozzie. Who can recognize him? From 20 years ago. Ted and Andrew, Gordon Smith knows, he's probably been talking to them. That is, in 2002, Andrew Pindar says it's the first time I was in Cape Town for the Round Alone race. Yep, Peter Taylor's got it, Andrew McIrvin, they all got it. So Pindar was there 1 years ago. And then in the last couple of days, these guys have been together. And they've never met before. They know each other through this show, and in Cape Town for the ocean race with Fozzie Ted Ryman and Andrew Pindar here in 2023. Cool people indeed. Nice to have that from them, and I think they've gotten together more than once, or at least they were planning to. So bravo to them, and thanks for sending in those photos. Now shoot us a video, guys. Your assignment, if you will accept it, please shoot a video next time if you're back together and send it to us so we can use it in Friday's show. Piney! Andrew Pindar, a.k.a. Piney. Thanks, Andrew, for sending that one along. Little America's Cup news here. Interesting report here. The so-called Rob report in this country is featuring their new chase boat with a big story. And I'm only going to excerpt from it, but how this hydrogen-powered America's Cup Chase Cat could change the future of boating in the Rob report for the rich and famous. widely read magazine in some parts of this country. The America's Cup Yachting's most storied race is not where you'd expect to find the next source, why not, of emissions-free propulsion for stink pots, sailor speak for motorboats. Yet ETNZ, which won the regatta in 2021 for the fourth time, launched a foiling-powered catamaran named Chase Zero last year that could change the future of boating. And there's a side shot of the boat. Several of you asked about what the status of this boat is. The article goes on to say, as Cup defenders, the Kiwis were in charge of creating the new protocol for the 2024 event, for which they sought out areas desperate for new technology, maybe ways they could make money too. Quote, we realized our chase boats were years behind our foiling race boats, unquote, says Nick Burridge, ETNZ's operations and reliability manager. Quote, to keep up, the tenders need big horsepower, so we were burning huge amounts of fossil fuel. ETNZ decided to bypass battery-powered boats and move straight to the holy grail of zero emissions, hydrogen fuel cell stacks. Quote, we knew we had the expertise, so it was quite feasible, but we had no experience, unquote, says Burridge. Quote, goes on, you see fuel cells in automotive and some in aerospace, but nothing in marine. Consultants forecasted that mating untested propulsion with a sophisticated software-controlled foiling system would take 4 years. Chase Zero hit the water after only 9 months. Quote, it exceeded expectations on day one, says Burridge. Quote goes on, now the goal is to push this technology onto the world. And indeed, this article, which was written by a former editor of Soundings magazine here in this country, and is now Rob Report's kind of maritime and aviation and maybe even automotive writer, a guy called Michael Verdon, who I've met once or twice, don't know him well by any means, but a great writer, writing now for the Rob Report. And it's quite a long article. I Google it. I commend it to have a look. Ken Saban in Toledo, Ohio, saying, ladies and gentlemen, we had a great group of people sail away with a wind down in St. Petersburg. Hobie 33, these young men and women are ice boaters. Great to hear, Ken. Thank you for that. Sorry, a couple of you having an interruption, but none here on my monitor that I'm watching the live stream. Video interrupted. I don't know who's having problems, but doesn't seem that most of you are. Comments, I have not seen this new tender working with the AC-40s with TNZ in the spy videos. It looks like a Toyota on foils, Julie Aarons is saying. Yeah, I don't know. We haven't seen it in any of the videos, so I'm sure it's still in the experimental mode, and we'll see how that boat goes. But it's nice to see the publicity, at least in the Rob Report. Gets us to this day in history. And with all that's going on with China and Russia, and maybe the cooperation, increased cooperation between those two communist countries, socialist countries, I thought it might be appropriate to run this from 1848. Do you know what happened 3 years before AC-0, the birth of the modern, the America's Cup, not the modern America's Cup, the America's Cup? Here is your first clue. You know who that is? If Julia were here, I'd be asking her, Julia, do you know who that is? She'd probably know. She almost always does. Pindy, not Pindy. Piney. Oh, is it Pindy? Or I like Piney. I'm going to start calling him Piney, even though it's Pindy. Hydrogen power, yes. Foiling, no. Who is it? Clark Chapin got it right away. It's Karl Marx. And who's that with him, Clark? Ed Worley got it. Paul Homchick got it. It's not Charles Darwin. That is the authors of the Communist Manifesto, which was published on this day in February 1848, both apparently in Belgium, where they were living at the time, and also by their publisher in London. And that is, Engels, the Germans together. The German philosopher and revolutionary, this Karl Marx, is one of the most influential figures in modern human history. In 1848, he, with Friedrich Engels, published the Communist Manifesto, apparently in Brussels, but also in London, describing how in the class struggle the workers could seize power from the elites. His many writings continue to build upon his ideas, most notably in Das Kapital, published in 1867. Amazing this was all happening before and after the first America's Cup. Detailing, in 1851, of course, detailing his theory of capitalism and its self-destructive tendencies. Yeah, right. As a result of Marx's ideas, revolutionary socialist governments espousing Marxist concepts took power in a variety of countries in the 20th century, leading to the formation of states, sadly, such as this is me editorializing, such as the Soviet Union and the PRC. As a result of Marx's ideas, revolutionary socialist governments espousing Marxist concepts took power. Oh, I just read that. I'm repeating that. Now, did you know he was a sailor? No, I don't know if he was a sailor, but he published a book, and on the cover of the book, this is Die Klassenkämpfe in Frankreich, 1848. The class struggles in France, 1848 to 1850, was a book that was illustrated on the cover with a couple of pictures of sailboats. I kid you not. Now, was he also a sailor? Do we know for other reasons? Well, maybe. Some of you will think he was because Marx drank, according to Wikipedia, he drank heavily until his death. After joining, I kid you not, Wikipedia says the Trier, which is where he was born, Trier in Germany, Trier Tavern Club drinking society in the 1830s. Well, no wonder he came up with these ridiculous communist ideas. Marx was another reason he was afflicted by poor health, what he himself described as the wretchedness of existence. So I guess he thought he should confer that upon everybody else with his theory of communism. And various authors have sought to describe and explain it. His biographer, Werner Blumenberg, attributed it to liver and gall problems, which Marx had in 1849, and from which he was never afterward free, exacerbated by an unusual lifestyle. It goes on and on. All he had to do was go to London, go to the Isle of Wight, see the America's Cup, and his outlook on life, I'm sure, would have been changed forever. And maybe the whole world would have been spared what we have gone through on and off since, and what it's starting to look scarily like we're going to go through again if, in fact, the People's Republic of China, and the Russian Federation team up and go against the West in this proxy war now called Ukraine, which what is it? Friday is the anniversary of the invasion? Bloody hell. Okay, well, on this day in history, 1848, Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels published the Communist Manifesto in Brussels and apparently in London. God forbid that carries. I mean, look at ridiculous. Okay, anybody agree? Anybody want to take issue with me? He looks like my hero Bernie, but in disguise. Bernie Sanders? Well, I don't think Bernie's a communist. I think he's a Marxist and a socialist, but I hope he's not. Poor health, is that another phrase for a perpetual hangover? Clark Chapin. Nothing says communism like yachts, or at least maybe capitalism, David James. Wow, those boats are not for... Yeah, Steve Gruber, I think that book it had some other illustration, and then that was a later version of that book of the struggles in France, and somebody grabbed that more. That was a color painting of some boats, apparently. What other comments? Plenty of Russian billionaires trying to get hold of their yachts. Yeah, except for the owner of A, who just needs to make better decisions. Steve Gruber. Okay, speaking of yachts, I love this painting. For the last leg of our show, we're an hour and a half in. This is, of course, the 1982 painting, The Last Leg to Gloucester, by Thomas Hoyne. Yeah, I was an American, and these fishing yachts from up near Morris Stevens in that corner of our beloved continent, North American continent. We have some news today out of the UK. Do you recognize Hannah Mills? And Ailey McIntyre, they the gold medalists from 2020 or 2021. Well, Hannah has since retired and gone on to SailGP and other things, but Olympic champion Ailey McIntyre has announced that she is retiring, and here's why, according to Sky Sports and Team GB. When you've tasted gold, no other flavor could ever taste as sweet. It's the headline. That was what it came down to for Ailey McIntyre, an Olympic champion in Tokyo 2 years ago, but who had lost the belief that she could reach the summit of the sailing world once more in Paris 2024. McIntyre had followed in the wake of her father, Mike McIntyre, when she claimed Olympic gold in the 470 class alongside Hannah Mills, the most successful female Olympic sailor of all time. While Mills retired shortly after Tokyo, McIntyre initially planned to carry on to Paris, with the class changing to a mixed event in 2024, and one suspects that was the real reason for her retiring. Couldn't find a suitable male helm, or vice versa. And it's sad news, but I don't blame her at all. Ailey McIntyre announcing her retirement. And Sky Sports again reporting this, as did Team GBR. Now the 28-year-old has come to the realization that she will not be challenging for the top spot in less than 18 months' time, and just could not imagine competing at the Games without that belief. She explained, quote, "I want to go to another Olympics and I want to challenge for another medal, but I only want to go if I'm going to be battling it out for gold." What a competitor. Great gal. "I don't want to go and be in that final race of the Olympics, absolutely nowhere near to getting a medal. Those things happen at the Olympics and these things happen at the Olympics and you can't control it. But in my heart, I just don't believe that in the time frame available to us that we are going to be in a situation to battle it out for a medal and go for a gold. I just lost belief in that cause. I don't want to go to the Games for the T-shirt." Here to wrap up the show is a cool video released a couple months ago with her equally famous dad, Mike McIntyre, and gold medalist. Have a look and enjoy.
I don't know whether his Olympic gold inspired me or his DNA has made me the way I am. But certainly when you grow up with a gold medal at home, you feel like anything's possible. And if he can do it, why couldn't I do it? I guess my pathway into sailing was kind of inevitable. Following in my dad's footsteps, we always sailed. It's what we did at the weekends. We came down to sailing club, we got in the boat, and when I was really little, it was just about having fun. Eventually, my competitive spirit took over. I say eventually, it was probably always there, and I began racing. I remember being absolutely desperate to get racing and to be able to beat people, essentially.
You don't have children so they can do what you did, everyone has to find their own path in life and their own way of doing things. But it was obvious from quite an early age with Ailey, once she got keen on the sailing around about, 10, 11, 12, where she really started to get very keen, it became obvious that she was a little bit different just in her attitude and in her desire and what she wanted to achieve. Getting into the last race, having to win the race with the Americans 6th or worse and the Brazilians 5th or worse. And going out to the start of that last race, Bryn and I were sort of sitting in the boat going out to the start, talking about it. And I sort of said to him, "Look, Bryn, forget about bronze, forget about silver. We're just going to go out and get him to win the race and, leave everything else up to the others." And that's what we did, of course. We went out and won the race. It finished in, 10-foot waves and 33-knot winds, which for a starboat is outrageous, frankly. And we won the race by just 11 seconds from the Australians, with the Americans and the Brazilians nowhere to be seen.
For me, when you grow up with a gold medal in the house, well, particularly for me, everything was always competitive from sort of the second I started and when I started racing. So everything always felt like I was trying to get to the Olympics and win gold. So it didn't matter what I did, I was fighting for the win. Tokyo was beyond my wildest dreams. I think we felt like COVID was going to really dampen that Olympics and change the dynamics, and that it wouldn't feel like an Olympics, that it wouldn't feel special like it should. And it honestly was the total opposite.
I rang home when, day before the medal race, we were a long way ahead. We'd pretty much, it was in our control to win or lose. It was totally whether we threw it away or not. And I rang Dad because I think just this excitement that, oh my God, I might do it. And Dad said to me, there's one thing you need to not do. And I was like, I know, don't be over the start line. And that was it. And then we just laughed. And that was a bit the theme for the next day, to be honest. Yeah. Every day, every conversation we had, I was like, we just can't be over the start line. That's the one thing.
For 5 years we've been talking about winning a gold medal, and we finally had. And yeah, it was just this unbelievable moment of celebration and joy and just pride, to be honest.
It's really special. I mean, just both going is fantastic. Both to medals is amazing. Both to gold medals is ridiculous.
People often talk about, well, you know, you're proud, excited, etc. And actually, it was relieved that she'd done it. And yeah, so it was really a really fantastic experience, because as they finished the race, and also, of course, when they got on the podium, the whole club erupted, of course. And so, you know, we weren't watching alone on the telly. It was, you know, we had 150 people, friends and family, and it was just the most fantastic experience.
3 cheers for Ailey and Hannah. Hip hip! Hooray! Hip hip! Hooray! Hip hip! Hooray!
It sends chills. I got chills up my spine watching that. What cool people. What a great sport we have. And what a terrible international federation we have. Imagine kicking out the shot put or any of the other, the 100-yard dash, any of the other classic events in athletics and track and field, and replacing them for the purpose of trying to attract more television. You're not going to attract more television with these new classes. But we've screwed up now the 470 by forcing together, and yeah, okay, people sail together in the 470, men and women. We sail men and women in various classes. But for years, since the 470 went in the Olympics in 76, when I was sailing fireballs in 470, trying to which one's going to go in? There was a men's, and then in 96 we started with a women's class, and it was a hugely successful event, as you've seen from Anna and Ailey and many, many other women from across the world sailing in that class. And then we say, oh, well, we got to put some other classes in, and we got to force the 470, you know, male and female. It is not something widely practiced, competed in. And then and then her dad, Mike, the idea that the star class has been so hugely successful, is so technical, so tactical, and we'd have the history and tradition, and should have the history and tradition of that class at least ongoing. Okay, you can argue about the fin. I would have stuck with the fin too, as you all know. But we should not be ruining the history and tradition of our sport. And you can just see in that video what we've done, at least to one family, to a club, to a country, to our sport. Okay, that's my end of the show rant. Sorry. I cannot believe what we do. And I see, speaking of 11 seconds, which they won that Mike and won that last race to get the gold. Zulu, Clark Chapin is saying, has finished the Caribbean 600, the RORC's Caribbean 600, 11 seconds ahead of Maserati. They passed them on the final leg going into the finish there in Antigua. Bravo, Zulu, to both of them. As one of you said, a 600-mile match race. Alistair Murray, a great family portrait. Families in our sport, what fabulous. Clark Chapin, Zulu, E.T., yep, very cool, so true. The difference between sailors and animals is that animals would never let the dumbest lead them. Clayton, Yeah, Brian, how do you say it, Andrew? Bryn Valley? Valley, crew to Mike McIntyre, has been part of my team for a while. He's been sailing with Andrew McIrvin. Don't sugarcoat it for us, Tom. Tell us what you think, Clark J. Well, I did. Julie Aarons agrees. Look at this guy. What a fabulous guy, fabulous family. I don't know what club that is, but why do we wreck the history and traditions of our sport? Enough of all that. Okay, well, thank you all. Good rant, Tom. Thank you, Andrew. I hope, Andrew, you're doing better. He was in hospital for a while, Andrew Golly Davola. Let's see what else is going on here. I think we'll carry on and go to we're in the D block, the Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. Julia, if you're upstairs, if you can hear me upstairs, Julia, get your finger ready, because one of these certainly deserves it. Whiskey Tango Foxtrot, this first one is how I don't need this because I leave my phone. I don't check my phone every 20 minutes, every 20 seconds, but stops me from constantly checking my phone. This from Peter Taylor. It looks like a New Yorker cartoon. What a crouton. Put the phones down and talk to the people you're with, we're with. And I tell you, it's a nice thing at St. Francis Yacht Club. They have a very strict no cell phone policy. Okay, if you're sitting there and you're waiting to see if somebody's showing up, or if I'm over there and worried about if Julia's okay upstairs in the Commodore Suite, I can check to be sure I haven't gotten an emergency text. But, you don't sit there and carry on like the kids do. It's astonishing. Come on. Okay, I'll stop. Side effect from being vegan. That last one was from Peter Taylor. Thank you, Peter. This one from Ted Ryman. I saw a big study here. Maybe Andrew McIrvin will weigh in on this next time we get him on the show. But apparently vegans suffer a much higher proportion of depression than non-vegans. And okay, I love vegetables and eat, some blueberries and strawberries almost every day and a lot of vegetables. I'm sure they're good for you, but I also like my salmon and my steak. And now I don't know what the cause and effect is. Maybe veganism causes depression. Maybe depression drives people to veganism. So I don't want to be judgmental. This one I'll be judgmental on. This from the University of North Texas. The real mug. This is the real thing, but obviously they didn't think it through. I'd love to have one of these. If anybody can find this on eBay or Etsy or something. But this was sent by a Fozy in New Zealand. I won't name him. He asked not to be named. We'll just call him the Furtive Fozy. The University of North Texas. I'll do it for you, Julia. That deserves a finger. Okay. Hey, why the stoppage? Well, we've hit bedrock. Now, you got to be of a certain age to appreciate that one. That was a good one. Huh? Jim Palmer sent that here. Thank you, Jim. Finally, the last one. We don't really have a drinking one today, but this one in honor of Julia, she's doing okay. I hope she's on the mend here. She's got now Paxlovid, and after a couple of days, maybe she'll be getting better. Stuck in line at Walmart. Okay, I coughed and said, quote, "This cough has gotten worse since I got back from China." Boom, no lie. Okay, Julia, I hope you appreciated that too. And any other comments before we blast off here? Bye, Fritz Mueller. Yeah, okay. Andrew is, tell us, Andrew, what in due course we don't need to hear, but stylistic C handle on that coffee mug to go with the U. Yes, Stinger, we all got it. You didn't have to explain it to us, that mug. Dedicated to Julia, that one. I hope you're feeling better, Julia. And we got a new finish line photo. This is the Newport Yacht Club Frostbite Fleet. Remember, in Newport, Rhode Island, there is Ida Lewis Yacht Club. There's the Coasters Harbor Navy Yacht Club. There's Connecticut Yacht Club across the way over in Jamestown. And, of course, Harbor Court, which is New York Yacht Club's big, fancy clubhouse. But there's also the kind of the blue-collar working man's very popular and very proficient yacht club, Newport Yacht Club there in the northeast east corner of the harbor, and they do a lot of frostbiting. This photo courtesy of Dave Reed, the editor of Sailing World. And a fantastic shot. Please like, follow, and share. And as we always say at the end of the show, comments are welcome, even if you're watching this in replay. Please be a lady or a gentleman. Do not leave any insults. Do not do any name calling or personal attacks. Don't be a crouton. Either variety. Don't be a crouton. And if you will, please join us. And thank you to one of you who's just joined us as a $20 a month patron. We really appreciate that. I can eat again, as I said on the Friday show. Patreon.com/join/Sailing Illustrated keeps us in the clover, keeps the equipment and internet going here at Studio B and the Beach Street Yacht Club. I'd normally go over to Julia now and ask for any final word, but there is no final word, so we'll go to the comments. Thanks, Stingray, to my beloved mother, Janice Davis. Thanks, Ted Ryman. Ted, if you see Pindy, give him a big hug for us, and then hugs to you as well, Ted Ryman. Best wishes, Thierry de Jong, saying to Julia, another high-class afternoon. Thank you, Jonathan Frank. You can probably see over there, Jonathan, I could move the camera. In fact, I could adjust Julia's fancy new camera, and there's that painting over in the upper left corner where Julia normally sits, the Jonathan Frank painting from the 2013 America's Cup. Here he calls it hydro. Remember that when the Kiwis almost capsized. Any other comments? Thanks, Ted Ryman. Get well soon to Julia. Everybody's saying that. Joe Cool, thank you, Joe. Joe was among the first on here today. Good show. Rest up and ever onward. That's Julia. That's Julia, DBA Sailing Illustrated. She's up there. I said Connecticut Yacht Club, didn't I, Steve Gruber? Did I say Connecticut? I meant Connecticut Yacht Club, obviously. Thank you for that. And thanks to everybody. Hope to see you on, I have to look to see what day it is because my brain goes soft. Hope to see you on Friday. I look up on my clock. Tells me it's Tuesday, Friday the 21st. Tuesday, February the 21st. Hope to see you on Fridays. In the meantime, sail fast, sail safe, and have fun. Ciao for now.